Well, we are getting to the pointy end of the season, and Marcus Byfeld has control of this championship, but his rivals are coming his way. He's not having it all that he would have wanted after Yrii Bohlin was able to take his first ever victory last time out a couple of weeks ago at Kansas, and it's certainly going to be a whole load of fun here tonight as well. It's the Hövve 250 here from Bristol Motor Speedway. It's myself, Cam Roger, Ewan O'Leary alongside me as we are going 250 laps around the Bristol Motor Speedway, which is always going to be an interesting one. But let's see what we've done so far this season. We started at Nashville Auto Club, Richmond and Echo Park before we got to New Hampshire, the midway point of the season. Kansas last time out, Bristol today, and then it's Talladega and Homestead, so 3 of the biggest fan favourite tracks to finish off the season. And here is how we have the standings so far. 46 points for Marcus Byfeld, so he's almost a full race victory of 50 points in the lead. But you have to remember, a drop score is going to come into things that could always change things around. But the only good news for Marcus Byfeld is that really is actually only going to help him, removing some results with all his wins, 4 so far this season, all counting at the front. But it really is fairly close in behind with Gunnarsson, Holmer, Brostrom, even Helmbro there, all fighting for that second place with 3 races still to go this season. Of course, Yrii Bohlin jumping up inside the top 10 with his victory last time out. With Jesper Eriksson back, he's only done 2 races so far this season, but he's coming for a bit of fun around Bristol. Ewan, last time we were here, 18 cautions. That was quite something. That was back in September of 2024. I wonder if we're going to get a similar race tonight, because we actually ended under the time limit last time as well.
Yeah, we did, and I believe it in that long season it was one of only 2 races to finish under time, but we still had more than 50 from memory. Might not be exact. I think we had around 50 kilometres of the race left still. Even then, that's 40 odd laps, maybe 30 odd actually. But yeah, that's a lot of cautions. That's a lot of time spent under caution, but of course they are very quick round here with the quick laps. The longest green flag run in one go was 60 laps. That was the 6th run of the race. So it came quite early actually, before things got a little bit messy towards the end, although they started off messy too. The rest of them were all 15 laps or less in terms of a run. So it remains to be seen what we're going to see tonight, because I personally believe we've had some circuits where so far this season where that could have been the same, like Richmond and New Hampshire, I would probably point out, and actually those have been nowhere near as bad as some like me would have expected. So there is reasons to be hopeful.
There certainly is, and Jesper Eriksson is looking pretty fast, to be honest, to be over half a tenth up there on the front row, and look at the gaps are in behind. He's certainly got a little bit of an advantage. He does love it around here, although unfortunately did end with a disconnection last time out. Remember, he didn't finish the race. It was actually a disconnection fairly early on. About 50 laps into that race, and if you can see from the logo as well, it's the MHE Racing. Marcus Hogman is sponsoring this event today with the Yrii 250, so big thanks to him for that. Let's see where Marcus can get himself up the order today. He's currently sitting in 8th place in the qualifying session as it comes to an end. The floodlights are coming out, and it's going to be a very tricky race for these drivers. It's definitely one of attrition. And how many last times? There's only 10 drivers on the lead lap last time out. And to be honest, there was only 14 within 2 laps. Everyone behind having many issues, so over half the grid. But here is your grid for today's Yrii Hövve 250. It is Jesper Eriksson on the pole with Tony Uvenen alongside him, Marcus Byfeld and Kenneth Tier on the second row. Alex Arvidsson and Yrii Bohlin will round out the top 6. Jonas Gunnarsson, second in the championship, 7th on the grid today. Marcus Hogman, your sponsor for today's race, in 8th. Lewis is there in 9th position, with Dante Forsberg rounding out the top 10. Lars Bulker and Håkan Schott are inside the front 6 rows of the grid. Oscar Fredriksson, second when we were here just over a year ago. Then Gyros in 14th. Holmer, Leppit, Helmbro and Kjellberg. Of course, Holmer, your winner last time out there, but with some work to do on the grid today. Lundberg, Skoglund, Motin Ek, Broström and Erling towards the back of the field. But then the 25th and final driver for today is going to be Marcus Stiller in the 013 as ever, going from the back. 250 laps, Ewan, 100 for the stage, which means we, in theory, could go green all the way because fuel is going to go just over half race distance.
Yeah, it's going to go a very, very long way around here. It is never the discussion about fuel around here, though. It is always about the tyres, and personally, I would want to keep those false tyre sets. Well, it's not all four, but you do want to keep at least one back in case of a late caution. Yes, track position can play a real role here, and from memory as well, Dan Holmer seemed to play that car very well, actually, making quite an early last stop, really, in amongst the sea of cautions that we had. But he got to the front and just sort of stayed there through the cautions, because obviously when there's a yellow flag out, you can't lose many places unless you come into the pit lane. So that's a strategy as well. But as you say, we're not going to see any green flag pit stops here today at all. You know, they are going to go to lap 100 and get to that stage if there are no cautions, because it is so costly to come into the pit lane, and the fuel can take you way past that stage anyway.
Yeah, that is very true. It's unlikely that we'd ever get a green flag run that long as well. With 18 cautions last time out, 10, 15 laps a stint, it could be a bit of a trek around here, but that is where the best drivers come out, and they choose which of those 18 cautions is the time to take the new tyres. Because if we have loads of cautions in the beginning, then the tyres are also not going to wear very much. So do expect the drivers to go long and long and long in this first part of the race. But also good to see Jesper Eriksson back on the field. Of course, your champion a couple of seasons ago, season 7, when we used this very car, the B-Class O'Reilly's car. And then, of course, we went back to the next gen for season 8, where Linus Broström is the reigning champion. But I don't know if he's quite going to be able to win so far this season. With how it's going, he's now down into 4th position, 80 points off Marcus Byfeld at the front. But Marcus does sit there on the 2nd row of the grid and is trying to get his 5th race victory of the season. It's been a very dominant opening to the season for him so far, as he's really just crossed over nicely from the road course series, where he's a 4-time champion over there. Now coming to the ovals and trying to take his first championship. But of course, the pace truck comes in, and the Yrii Hövve 250 is going to get underway. The Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's round number 7 of the season. And it's a good jump from Tony Uvnon on that outside line, actually, who's going to be able to hold it there. Eriksson does have the inside line, should be able to slot up in that first position, but we are 3 wide for a little bit, as we're going to see Kenneth Tier just get pushed out a little bit there from the 2nd row of the grid as the top 3 get away.
I think that was a few different philosophies there on how to start this race. Do you start out cautiously like Kenneth Tier, or do you go for the moves early? Joel Bohlin forcing a 3-wide moment through 1 and 2. It's certainly not what everyone would have done there, but it has been effective, I suppose. It's got him into the top 5 already.
What a bowl this track is. It's amazing that the high banks really take so much speed in these cars. It is going to be a tyre killer, as we've mentioned. And still the outside line there, Bohlin just rubbing the wall there. That's not the ideal situation to lose a little bit of momentum, because it's one of those where you're going to have to take multiple laps to try and get past someone when you get side by side. It's not going to be an easy one, but Bohlin, he's got up high and he's definitely lost that position as well. So definitely the inside line is the way to go so far.
Yeah, I mean, when there is already side-by-side happening in front of you, that dynamic of difficulty in passing and spending multiple laps trying to get a pass does change a little bit. You are looking for that driver in front just to fall back and choose the wrong line and hope to benefit from it. This is a spin down low mean time. A little bit further down the field, looks like Janis Leppard, who maybe spun to the inside there. Thankfully, we stay green, though.
Indeed, that could be about 5-lap run, but he's managed to get back going by the looks of it. As we're seeing Linus Broström here get back inside the top 10. Oh, he's actually a tag from the behind. There's Håkan shot the 101 machine, and it wasn't really a spin, was it? Just a bit of a slide there. But unfortunately, you lose so much time, and with it being a 15-second lap, it's very easy to go a lap down here. And of course, with the cautions and everything, being a lap down could really kill your night.
Well, yeah, you gave the statistic about how many were on the lead lap last time. Well, actually, most of that is, I guess these two races are not comparable so far, because we've now done double the opening race stint that we did in the previous race anyway. Already we've done double. We've only been racing about 4 minutes, but even less. But it didn't have many guys sort of 1 or 2 laps down, as you commented. Everyone sort of below 14th was just a very long way off because of crashes. I think what we're going to see tonight, if this early tone being set is going to be followed, is a lot of drivers getting lapped the natural way. Already Marcus Stiller, who's not actually made very much progress, or he's not made any progress, he's now 11 seconds off the lead of Jesper Ericsson. That's not a place you want to be, because you're going to get lapped so quickly and there's not going to be many free passes around.
Even with a field of 25 cars, we're going to be seeing lapping pretty soon. We don't have the full 40-car grid that you may see in real life, as we're seeing some issues. There's actually Dante Forsberg, and that is going to be the first caution of the night, the 357. He's crashed down that front stretch. It's going to be very slow getting back going as all of the leaders come around. It's Bulka on the inside. The two 300 numbers just made the tiniest bit of contact in the mid part of the track. And it was a spin in the end. He almost saved it, but not quite enough. He's going okay, then just got a tiny tag. That's pretty unlucky from that view so far.
Yeah, I think it doesn't take much, really. I think what we've seen so far actually could be quite encouraging as far as this race is concerned, because we do want to see some green flag racing. I think the next-gen cars that were just very, very difficult around here. To be honest. What did we go here in the next-gen cars? Or am I just misremembering in the... I can't remember whether we went here last season. Maybe we did.
Well, the season that we're here, previous in Season 7, was this same O'Reilly's car. Yeah, the year before, we did also come here, but in the next-gens. But no, the race we're talking about was in these same cars. Yeah,
okay, so... because this doesn't look... I don't know about you. I mean, maybe I'm taking a sample size from 10 laps and I shouldn't be. But... this doesn't look the same to me. It doesn't look as... I mean, the one thing I can remember from last time, I think, is that this is at night and the previous race wasn't. I think it was a day race last time from memory. But again, I'm doing this all from memory and with no data.
The year prior to that, in 2023, we did the full 250 laps. There was 9 cautions that day. There was also only 8 drivers on the lead lap, with Ericsson Hafledison back then as well getting involved. Dan Holmer finished 7th on that day. Gunnarsson had the number 1 on his car as the reigning champion that time. So I guess 18 cautions to 9. If anything, statistically, the next gen was easier. Looking at that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that shows, doesn't it, that statistics can't answer everything, can they? And you can make up what you want, really. But yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, early observation, I know, but it doesn't look the same to me. It doesn't look as treacherous on the... It's especially the exits of these corners. I seem to find when watching these cars sometimes at Bristol, squeezing because the banking is so steep. You know, obviously it's great when you turn into the corner. It just sticks because 24 to 28 degrees of banking. You can. Sometimes you feel like you can go in at any speed and it will just stick to the road because you're in a sort of bowl. But when you're coming off the corner, suddenly that tilt in the road is not quite as useful, and it's a real challenge. So we'll see how this run goes and see how it develops. But that was an encouraging first run, I think.
Certainly was. No pit takers that time round, just Dante Forsberg, the only driver a lap down after recovering from that spin. Yrii Hövve 250 gets underway with Jesper Ericsson having a big jump at the front. Uber not quite as good. Contact is made with Byfeldt, and this is allowing Ericsson to get way up the road, have a pretty comfortable start. That's also allowing the 24 of Aronson to try and go around the outside, but looks like Byfeldt should hold on.
Yeah. Oh dear, it's very close. That's always the danger as well. Can't remember how many times we saw that in the last race we had here almost 18 months ago. Guys not quite realising there's still someone on the outside or vice versa, and they just get into small bits of contact. In fact, that's really, when you boil it down, how that first caution of the night came about. You've got to be so wary of people who are just on that rear quarter you're not quite clear of yet, because you can believe you are around here very quickly, and the slightest bit of contact when you've made a misjudgment will be pretty disastrous.
And one of the biggest problems in this car is the wiggly rear end. We see the rear tyres go first often, and that is going to cause problems later on in the stint, because we could see 2 seconds worth of loss. Bear in mind there's such a short track and 2 proper corners as ever. A second per corner if we get any different sort of tyre strategies later on, that could be quite a big moment. In the background, Fredriksson's just gone around the outside of his teammate Gunnarsson. That was a big move as Byfeld controls onto P3 finally. I say that actually Fredriksson wasn't quite able to get his nose in front of the nose of Gunnarsson. Actually, Gunnarsson backs out of that one, but now he needs to look out for Marcus Hagman, your sponsor for today's race, the number 12, around the outside, hanging it out there and trying to make this position.
Yeah, I think Gunnarsson was trying to let Fredriksson through there, but he didn't quite understand the threat of Marcus Hagman, who is ripping around the outside and gets clear now. That was a nice move from Hagman, although he's quite happy to bring the outside anyway here. It's one of the great racetracks, this Bristol, not least because of the tightness of the racetrack, the off-bull-ring nature, the closeness of the racing, as you can see. But the different lines, although Hagman spins on the power off of turn 2, that was well avoided and well saved, but it does bring out another caution.
Certainly does, and once again, another caution, but no real damage. It's just going to be a stack up and go again for these drivers. So there's the 12 on the outside of the 112. No contact or anything, just way offline, no grip. Way too much steering angle in that one. And the rear said bye-bye, around he goes. So he will be down a bit further than he would have wanted. Looks like he's going to be about P13, although he's actually working his way through the line to where he should be. But yeah, it's about P either 12 or 13, and next to Lars Bulker that they're trying to figure themselves out in the queue. And I think, we've had a decent start in this opening 10% of the race. Definitely seen that the drivers are a little bit more cautious than we've seen in some other races, and I think we should be able to get some decent long runs today.
Yeah, I think so. The thing I'm fearful of is, well, I agree because of what we've seen in the first 10% of this race. I also think it looks at times like we're very, very, both the cautions so far haven't taken much, and you're in danger, I think, of thinking as a spectator here, oh, if they just stop making those tiny mistakes, those fine margins, just clean them up, and then we can have a very long run. That's kind of how it works here, though. It is fine margins that takes you out. It is fine margins and very small things that spin you around. It is small bits of contact that are almost more deadly than the big bits of contact. So I'm wary of saying, if they could just clean up those finer things, then they could have a clean green flag race, because that's almost like saying if they all went a bit faster, they might win. It's not quite as easy as that.
That is very true. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not in racing, and this is definitely one of those tracks that is on a knife edge, and you could very easily spin the car around. I guess we'll see as the tyres wear how the driver's going to control that. They do, I don't know if everyone knows this because we don't always mention it, but there is actually a sort of test race every Monday where the drivers get a feel of it, and they go out there and they can really sort of get an understanding in race conditions, which is good because just practicing with yourself or your teammates isn't always very helpful. But sometimes they don't really get into the long enough runs always in practice to go that 100-lap stint if we ever get there, and then know what those tyres are going to feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember the video, by the way, just quickly, before we were sent before the race 18 months ago? Very hilarious. And in the end, the race did turn out a little bit like that, but there you go.
Well, we'll see how this goes. Lap 28 about to start. Ericsson Uvenen still on that front row with Byfeld in third place. They have not changed since the start, but once again a terrible start from Uvenen, and Byfeld gets a bit bogged down from that one as well. So Joel Wallen round the outside into third position, and he's being very aggressive up the inside. This is trying to be second position. Look at Oscar Fredriksson on the outside as well. He was nowhere a few laps ago, and now he's up battling for third.
Yeah, it wasn't a great reaction from Uvenen, but I've got to say it was worse from Marcus Byfeld, who's sort of trapped in fifth position at the moment, stuck in behind Oscar Fredriksson, who's making great progress. Oh, and he's trying to slip through. That wasn't as big of a gap as he thought it was. There was never a gap there. To slip past Wallin and go to the other side of Uvenen, there was never a gap. And, well, it's down to the car control of both of them that we're not under another caution.
About 2 minutes ago, I was saying these drivers taking it cautiously. Maybe not. Fredriksson wants to get to the front. Second here a year and a half ago, and he wants to get that win. Look at it, trying to chase down his teammate Ericsson up in P1, and he's now got to get past Tony Uvenen, who is no slouch at all in this championship, that is for sure. Up inside again, he's really been so aggressive, trying to get that track position. He's worked his way through, no contact. Look at the slide on the rear end. Those tyres are not lasting.
Well, Indeed, and that's the thing you've really got to be concerned about here. We mentioned the sort of non-event that fuel is around here. Tyres are absolutely key around here. That's why I mentioned you want to keep a set back a little bit later, because even if it's a shortish green flag run to the end, you can really make some progress with some new tyres. Although track position is relatively important as well, as far as an overall goes anyway, one of the more important. But Fredriksson wants to keep pace with Jesper Eriksson here, who is running out front at the moment and going pretty well. But Fredriksson wants to prove himself that he's got the car to stay with him.
Indeed. I think one thing that we know about Marcus Byfeld is he's going to take this a bit slower in the opening stage. That's what we've seen so far this season. Whereas all those drivers around him, they're hungry. I mean, Eriksson, Fredriksson, Uvinen, Bohlin, I mean, even Aronson, they're not really in the championship fight. It's the drivers behind him. Broström, Gunnarsson, Holmer, they're the ones who are fighting for these top points. And when you have these drivers around you that aren't necessarily fighting for the direct positions in the championship, it can be quite unnerving because they've got a little bit less to risk than you.
Yeah, absolutely. Much less to lose, a lot more to gain. But I think some of that, I mean, to be fair, I was about to say some of that will be removed from Byfeld, but actually, this race run is actually where he'd probably be most worried, actually, as a series leader, because these 2 rounds are the ones, where other stuff can happen, and it very nearly did there. Joel Wallin hitting Marcus Byfeld. For reference, by the way, this one at Bristol 2 weeks' time, Talladega. Sometimes you don't have very much control over your own race at those 2 races.
That is a wild difference by the organisers, by the way, to go from one extreme to the other. And I guess an interesting point, I think, for Talladega is how teammates are going to work. And, with respect to Byfeld's teammates like Gyros, etc., not quite up there in the same way that we'll have with the Sim Race Sweden cars will be able to work together, etc. So he is going to rely on tracks like this where the driver, the solo driver, can do the work. But so far it is going fairly nicely for him. He's only lost that 1 position to Fredriksson, who's really chased down Eriksson. And the gap between Eriksson and Uvinen stayed the same. Fredriksson's just filled it.
Well, yes, indeed. Makes you wonder, really. Well, I'm always wondering at this stage in the race, what really is the pace here? Because I don't feel like we're being shown everything right now. As Gunnarsson comes bounding down the inside, this little section on board with Joel Wallin, I've got to say, is making me think that he's not showing us everything that he's got quite either. He's keeping a set of tyres back, but Jonas Gunnarsson clearly willing to come through the field. And those championship contenders like Gunnarsson and Byfeld do have to think about this from a bit further out than the others. They do have to care about the stage points because, especially in Gunnarsson's case, he has to get good finishes at these stages and the race ends if he wants to close Byfeld. It's not enough to just do one or the other because the gap is so large with only 3 races to go.
It is. You've got to be making these big moves and getting those big points. That will start with the stage. We're almost halfway through. Lap 100, the stage points will be handed out. And in this series now, it is a stage caution. So we will be then having 150 laps, well, minus the laps for the caution. So probably about 145 laps or so to the end of the race, which is almost exactly a full tank of fuel with a little bit of saving. Oh, into the wall goes the 33. He's been out wide a few times. That's going to open up the door to Byfeld. No, he actually keeps the momentum going around the outside of Uvinen, trying to follow his teammate through. It could very easily be a Sim Race Sweden 1, 2, 3 if he just holds it around the outside. He's really pushing through. So these two, the 112 and the 33, I mean, they were down in P6, P7 at one point, now second and third.
Yeah, very interesting that Gunnarsson is going out so hard like this. And Gunnarsson, yeah, as you mentioned, these two were together earlier. Gunnarsson let Fredriksson through. This time the roles are reversed. It was almost like a replay, a mirrored replay in towards turn 1 that time round. Gunnarsson now leading the charge to try and catch up to Jesper Eriksson. But what has happened to the rest of them? Why? Maybe that's less of the question. The more one is, why has Gunnarsson decided that now is the moment to push on so hard with even more than 50 laps to go to the end of the stage? Never mind the end of the race.
This is an example that some drivers are holding back, because if you could just drive past 2-3 drivers, then there's clearly some left in the locker. That's forced Eriksson to push his way up as well. We've also seen Eracingligan make a small mistake there. Broström up into the top 7, the first time we've really mentioned his name today. So it is definitely at a point. Oh, big slide there. Hövve trying to keep it in check. It's definitely that point midway through this this run to the stage where they're all thinking about their position. In the background, though, Byfeld's involved. Is Broström? Yes, it is. 2 of the championship rivals. We stay under green flag. Gyros tries to slide his way through as well, but eventually the caution comes out.
Yeah, the knock-on effect eventually was too bad, but look at that. Marcus Byfeld's got a meatball flag, and there are no fast repairs in this series. You have to repair the car as you would in any special event or so on. He just gets that little bit of contact from Bohlin. In the end, Broström doesn't actually get the worst end of it. It's Byfeld who gets a massive impact on that front right corner.
Let's have a look at what the repair time is going to be. And, I mean, this... in that case, it's pretty certain this is going to be his drop round. I wouldn't be surprised. He's going to be so many laps down with how short it is around here, because you think even if it's 1 minute, I guess we are under caution now, but even if it is 1 minute, that's going to be a couple of laps. That is a big one, championship-wise, isn't it, Ewan? That could be, the moment that he has to take this one as his drop round, which means that the other ones, where the sort of mediocres in the top 10 are going to count, and that in some ways actually incentivizes the others to go and get this win even more.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the results to see what at the moment is his drop round. I'm actually looking at standings without the drop round in them at the moment, because it doesn't really make too much, the big word of difference. 45 points, his lowest score from Echo Park, Atlanta, really. And so that's not a top 10 finish. He would be dropping a non-top 10 finish, as is Jonas Gunnarsson at the moment, although Gunnarsson's is worse, 33 points, and he does have another 46, 48 as well, whereas Byfeld doesn't have a single other race result below 50 in terms of overall points. Of course, I'm talking here, that includes the stage points accumulated as well. But that's the worst thing for Byfeld here. This has happened in the first half of the first quarter of the race, and therefore he can't actually get out for any stage points either. Now, some of the others down the back of the field are doing the trick of let's repair a bit of the car and try and get out before the pace truck comes round and stay on the lead lap. Byfeld can't do that. He's got to clear that meatball before he exits the pit lane, and that could be minutes yet.
Oof, this is going to actually just open up the door for other drivers to have opportunities in this race. So this could certainly be a good one. He's already a couple of laps down. Simrace Sweden are pushing themselves towards the front. Even Dan Holmer there in the 79, the winner at this track last time, is there in P8 on that 4th row on the inside line. He is going to be going for this and trying to get a 1, 2, 3, 4 for the team. The 37 gets the Yrii Hövve 250 back underway, and look at Fredriksson hold on that inside line. A little bit of a slow start for him. He's going to have to come up just a little bit to try and hold off Hövve, and they certainly do so. We're 3 wide in behind for a short moment of time before they pile themselves back into a single formation down the front stretches. We got and we turned again. There's Oscar Fredriksson. That's surely going to bring out the yellow. He's backwards there. And that is going to be a big change up the front once again.
Yeah, and more powered into that one because they got stuck up on the outside of the road there, sort of locked together. And yeah, more have powered in. So Christopher Gyros has got a meatball flag as well. This is helping Byfeld, by the way. He needs this race to be as slow as possible while he's repairing. But again, I mean, it is just so careless. How many times do we have to see it before these drivers get it into their head that they've got to watch for their rear right before they think that they're clear? I mean, it wasn't like it was a surprise attack. They were side by side for some time, and I mean, yeah, it's so careless. And I don't get why, because everybody knows the consequences are so severe. But I'm afraid we see that same incident time and time again, and that one will be chalked up as another.
Yeah, you have to leave that car width, well, and a lot more around this track, on that outside line. And that is just another example. We go over halfway into the stage, back on another yellow end of line penalty for Fredriksson for good measure as well, to make sure he will be at the back. Byfeld still in the pit lane, 6 laps down now. We've also had other drivers go through the pit lane, like Skoglund, Lundberg, Brostrom as well, Marcus Hagman. They've already made pit stops and still are on the lead lap. So if they've got some fresh boots on, we could be seeing them start to work their way forward.
Yeah, indeed. That's the interesting thing that is going to come from this now, is that there are going to be people coming through from a little bit further back. Unfortunately, there are going to be guys who are pretty much taken out by this. I mean, Dan Holmer has been over a minute in the pit lane. Christopher Gerald still hasn't actually served his meatball. I don't know why he didn't come in straight away, but yeah, there are guys who are going to be taken out by this. Going to be multiple laps down, as you mentioned from the previous race we did here. It wasn't just people sort of 1 and 2 laps down. They were actually in the minority. It was people a long way down, and unfortunately we've seen the first signs of that happening again here, despite some encouraging signs actually early on in the opening runs. We've already got and had quite a lot of cautions, and we're not even a quarter of the way through the race yet.
And the pace truck is going to bring them around once again. Do you think we're going to get to 18?
I'm going to say no, but I still think we're going to be very close to the time limit, for which Linus Brostrom, by the way, has told us we'd need 15 cautions to get close to.
That's very true. Oh yeah, you're talking about the lap distance. It's actually 244 laps is what we got last time, so we only lost 6 laps,
okay.
Even with the 18. So let's call it 16 or 17 cautions will really be the maximum. Hopefully we don't get to that limit just yet. Marcus Byfeld still in pit road as we come back to the green flag once again. It's 2 teammates on the front row. Terrible start from the outside yet again, and Jon Wallen, crazy start there to then pull away into second position, but actually behind him Kenneth Tier got a terrible start and is holding up his teammate Lars Bulker on that outside line. Here comes the 33 to try and hold it on the outside, the 43 on the inside, and they get close once again, but Jon Wallen's still there.
Yeah, what a gap that these 4 have managed to get here off this start. It's a lot more spaced out, and perhaps that's a good thing, although these 2 are getting pretty close, especially off the turns, off 2 and 4. He's just about clear now. He's going to Silver, not quite there yet. We have seen people come down early, and he's got to wait for another moment, but he will now rip round the outside and get into second, and that's down the back this time where there's been more trouble. Frederick Eck, the one who's spun this time.
Oh, this is turning into a cautions part of the race, Ewan. And with this, remember, they only have 3 sets of extra tyres. Let's see, this is he on his own. No, the exact same that we've seen a few times just came up. Fair enough, Leppert was coming in a bit late as well, but it's that rear right quarter contact that is making the drivers spin around today. But yeah, I was saying, you've only got 3 sets of new tyres, so you can't pit all these cautions. Also, it wouldn't really make sense because then you keep on going to the back. So you can only play that card a couple of times, as you're going to take tyres at the stage caution, you'd think as a minimum, and you want to keep them for a late caution, so you only really have that 1 set that you can play around with.
Yeah, I would say yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, if I was outside the stage points, I would think seriously about pitting sort of just before lap 100 if there is a caution that would suit. Maybe not now, but if there was one a little bit later, which the odds are looking good for in the next 35 laps or so, then definitely I think somebody should come in and try it. But other than that, pitting, yes, under the stage caution, then maybe sort of halfway through the final stage might work. But again, as I say, you don't really want to go to the back every time. So this is the problem, and this is where the real track position comes into effect. But this is where these longer races get very, very interesting, and this race in particular, because you can't pit under the stage caution and make it to the end on fuel, even if the tyres would be in a pretty bad way at the end of that. Even with the fuel saving under the caution, I'm not sure you'd be able to make it. So that it means that surely in the second half of the race, someone, or well, all of them, sorry, is going to have to drop to the back at some point.
I mean, yeah, we'll see, because Linus told us 135 to 140. The laps are so short. Over that amount of laps, the percentage you'd have to save is very little. So I wouldn't be surprised if we could sneak up to, because it's going to be about 145. I guess, you still rolled around. So let's call it like 147 green flag laps. I don't think it's out of possibility that we could get that, to be honest. But we will see when we get there, and realistically, we're probably going to see enough cautions that they can do a little splash as well. So we're forming up once again. Are we going to see a bit of a bad restart from somewhere, or are we going to get a clean one and get going on a bit of a green flag run? Ericsson and Gunnarsson leading the way, as they have done for quite a while. We've seen this absolute train of cautions that have been coming since Marcus Byfeld got involved, in Fredriksson as well from the front. But let's see who's going to be getting there now. Ericsson gets us underway once again. The 37 leads, and it's Joe Bohlin once again with a fast restart, and he's trying to get this second place. But Gunnarsson, with that big drive off the banking on the outside line, is going to be able to pull himself to the outside and just keep second place.
He's quite impressive on the outside there, it's Gunnarsson. I mean, some of his overtakes so far have been made by teammates letting him in when he's come from the outside, so that's less impressive. But he drove around there, Joel Bohlin there, pretty convincingly, and he's not willing to really dabble with that orange-yellow line down there on the low side of the racetrack, which shows he's not quite comfortable with the low side, although it's not one of those racetracks where you really need to be painting the line, as it were. Just lowish is fine, but Gunnarsson just a half lane up higher than that, just a little bit further into the middle, which is interesting. We'll see how the line develops throughout the race, but so far you can actually see that the concrete's actually quite white, and that means that the rubber hasn't really been embedded on it too much visually anyway. We'll see whether that's actually true or not, I suppose, but doesn't seem too rubbered in really, low or high side, so there is a bit of scope to go up to the high side and maybe benefit from a little bit of rubber when it comes a little bit later on in the race when people have been running up there.
Yeah, I mean, we did see Gunnarsson hold the outside line. Oh, that is a tight one from Kjellberg, as he's trying to prove that this is going to work. 162, he holds it there. Should have a bit of a run down the front stretch, so maybe the outside is looking better. We did see one of the spins earlier was this car of Marcus Hogman in the 12 having a moment, and that was because, it's so close in behind Mark. There's always a bit of contact. Yeah, one of the reasons why he spun was because I think that lack of grip, but maybe it is coming to the drivers, and especially as it's staying cool under these floodlights.
Yeah, I think, well, I was going to say earlier in the race, I think that's really contributing, but what we've seen since, maybe not so much, but anyway, yeah, see, it is a notable feature of this race. I think this circuit quite famous for its night race, although I know not the more now, but back in the day, this was quite famous for going under the lights. And I do believe it might just be helping that little bit. It's certainly changing the conditions here to this race. We are getting to the time of year where this part of the world might be quite warm anyway, even in the night. But yeah, it's not too bad at all. And I think these are probably the ideal conditions to be running here at Bristol.
I mean, air temp of 21, track temp 29. I mean, that's pretty, pretty decent. Like, not too hot, not too cold. So it should be good conditions out there for the drivers, especially if they want to start pushing these tyres on quite a bit. In terms of tyres, the top 9 have not been in the pit lane at all. There's a couple of sporadic drivers up and down below that that haven't pit as well. But yeah, the top 9, all the way down to Matthias Kjellberg, are the ones who've not stopped. So Hagman then P10 with that spin earlier, and then going down pit road. In some ways, he might be able to actually push his way forward over this stint, although he can't quite get past. Yeah, and I say that, he's actually gone backwards. Skoglund has come past him, who's also on fresher tyres.
Yeah, so that's the problem when you run into people who are on the same strategy as you, and you can start to fall over one another here. Switches, he's going one side, then the other on Matthias Kjellberg here is Jonas Skoglund, but look at the extra grip he's got. Again, careful there from Kjellberg. That's where, more understandable issues can happen when somebody drives around the outside of you like that. A little bit dangerous from Skoglund, really, but he's made it work. Oh, and Hagman tries to follow him, actually hits the wall there. Got to be very, very careful with that, and he just looked like he's starting to understeer a bit more.
Yeah, that was a big move, or a big a potential move there. If he was then going to ricochet and go into a spin, but was able to save it. And we are closing. These laps go quick now that we're getting under green flag around the outside. Look at the extra grip there, as Moten has a big wiggle on. He's not going to be able to hold that, so the tyres are a big factor. I mean, look at that. He's car lengths ahead just in one corner there. The caution comes out, and it's the 77 of Helmbro who's gone around from inside the top 10.
Yeah. Looked like the way he was I mean, we joined it late, but it looked like it was a solo one to me, from the way he was getting back going again, the way he came to a rest, but happy to be proven wrong. Here we go, through, it's just off the corner on the power. Very similar to the spin that Hagman had earlier, actually, only he doesn't go all the way around. In fact, he ended up quite awkwardly pointing straight towards the wall. Now, those who are outside the top 10, in my opinion, should have a go at coming in here. Not because they're going to get many points out of this, but because they might get a lot of positions once the stage ends and all those in the top 10 hoping for points actually come in.
Well, let's see if anyone chooses that. I agree on that. Because, yeah, obviously they'll go to the back of the line, but then they'll cycle to the front. Is always a good strategy if you're not quite worried about the stage. And we do have stage points. So just a reminder, it's 10 points down to 1 point. Inside the top 10 positions, and that does mean something. And you know, when you're battling for a championship, especially if your rival chooses to take the tyre route and sacrifices those 10 points, that could be quite a big margin later on in the season. I think we're going to see the top drivers all stay out, though. The top 6 now are still on, basically everyone that you see on the screen there is all on the older tyres. And then it's Jonas Skoglund in the 83 behind that, who's the first one. Then it sort of alternates new old, and obviously most of the drivers at the back are still on pit road, getting their new tyres already.
Yeah. So interesting, really. I mean, Skoglund, to be fair, could still be a big threat from that 4th row. I mean, he's going to be very boxed in to begin with, and he's not going to have very many laps, but. And therefore, to be fair, might not get to Ericsson, but yeah, I think he's got a decent chance. And then you've got those who are a little bit further back, who are, or I think should be thinking about later in the race. I mean, Oscar Fredriksson actually seems to be getting some damage repaired as well. He was 27 seconds in the pit lane as well, so maybe doing a few damage repairs and just about staying on the lead lap back there. But yeah, it is new tyres down the back of the field, with not enough time, I don't think, to actually make use of them. But interesting for later.
So just to note with the cautions, if a caution is on lap 96 or later, that will end the stage. It's about a 10-lap run, basically, to the end of this stage. And no matter when the caution comes out then, we'll at least get it on lap number 100. Is this going to be the last one, or will there be another final yellow flag? Let's find out. Terrible start from the 33 on the outside line. We've seen this so many times. You're Bohlin up the inside, Gunnarsson on the outside, and generally he's able to hold it. But are the tyres still going there? These are still the original tyres out for 88 laps.
Yeah, it shouldn't be terrible, but especially compared to each other. But it's the Skoglund and Hagmans of this world they've got to worry about a little bit further behind. There they are, though, stuck in traffic, and I mentioned this would be a big problem for him. Just can't get through as quickly as he'd want. Bohlin cuts his nose off. This is proving pretty tricky.
Oh, let's see this bit of hold up in the background as well. Hagman not able to get through, so he's not just driving past him like we saw a couple of times. There's Kjellberg as well trying to work his way through. He's on the older tyres. So this is not the ideal situation. Shots also on old tyres as it stands, but they are still trying to make some moves. Skoglund has got P6 though. He's got Lars Bulka. Is there time for any more?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is quite satisfied. Oh, contact again. Hagman there hit by Lundberg, and they could absolutely see each other there. They were on the entrance to the corner that time, not the exit. So no idea what that was all about. There's going to be some bad tempers now as Hagman comes down the inside. Instead, just switches basically to the inside for 1 and 2. And now Lundberg rather is putting up a good fight on the outside. Very good fight indeed. So there are ways of defending. Even as Skoglund now is starting to pick his way through further, Hagman's really struggling to get anywhere.
Yeah, Skoglund's up to P5. This is some good points from a driver who is making up 15 positions in the race so far. Tricky opening parts of this race, but he was able to get the fresh boots on, and is using those difficulties to then come out and get a good result. Lap 96 is the number that we're looking for. We are then inside the caution window for the stage caution. Ericsson still leads from Gunnarsson as it stands. Ericsson is actually making some moves up into 3rd place as well, so Bohlin down into 4th, and Skoglund might just have enough time to sneak Bohlin.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that might well be all he can get here unless Ericsson and Gunnarsson help him out. No, that's just Gunnarsson getting him straight back again. Well, maybe they are going to help him out, actually. There might not be enough laps left, but Arvidsson's trying to take those. Well, 1 point away. 9 points for Gunnarsson's what he needs here, really, with Ericsson up the road, surely going on to win this stage. 9 points is what you get for second. Gunnarsson needs absolutely every single one of them.
He certainly does. With Byfeldt still in pit lane, these are going to be 3 points for the number 33. Lap 97 is out on the track. Ericsson is leading by over a second now, so this is the battle that he needs to worry about. He's got to hold on for 3 more laps.
Can he do it here? He would become the highest. Oh, he's gone! Gunnarsson's gone, and he spins, and he's hit by Bohlin, and he's just about avoided by the others. That is extraordinary. Gunnarsson has thrown away stage points right at the end, right when he needed it most.
And that's one of those ones where he would have rather have taken the 8 points than the 9. But let's get through this stage caution. Let's work it all out. Lap 99. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to Bristol's the Yrii Hövve 250. Let's see a replay of how this caution came out at the end. The 33 just way too high, fighting for second place with Ericsson on the inside. Bohlin makes further contact, and somehow no other driver made contact with him, although Hagman did go into the wall. And that brought out what ended up being our stage caution in the end. Jesper Ericsson winning the stage. And Gunnarsson, I believe, will get 0 points from that. Obviously, drivers will now be going down pit lane. They'll be trying to work out their new seating positions for the restart. And it looks like Helmbro, Kjellberg going to jump everyone up towards the front. There's going to be Skoglund and Ericsson on that second row. These front 3 drivers, Ewan, have made up 16 and 17 positions.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened through pit strategy, which sees them lead us back to the green again.
Pete Helmbro is going to get us underway, and of course he's on the fresher tyres, but they're still 16 laps old. Kjellberg only pit a couple laps ago, so he was able to jump people down in the pit lane sequence, so that is what you want. Ericsson diving into the inside already. He wants to be aggressive. He wants to get these cars in between him and his rivals for the race. So having said that, this is all for track position. Helmbro on those 18 lap old tyres, he's by far the oldest tyres on the grid by a 15-second jump. Let's see if he can hold on.
Well, yeah, by far the oldest, but I mean, not really in terms of the tyre wear. They won't be feeling too much worse than what Ericsson's will. That was so close again. This is effectively a battle for, these are on the same strategy now. So I was talking about earlier with pitting just before that caution so he could cycle to the front, and Helmbro's played an absolute blinder here to do that. As Ericsson, just before he was about to take the lead there, I believe anyway, he sees a caution that will mean he starts on the outside of this restart.
Lundberg on the inside, the 18 car. That looked all in his own, to be honest. I didn't see any contact. He was going in there a bit hot. Got too much rotation there on that rear end, and he brings out another caution update on Jonas Gunnarsson. He's in P17. Oh my god. P17 there. There's a lot of positions compared to P2. In hindsight, it's always a wonderful thing. Maybe should have just held on and taken that third place. Yeah, I'm wondering how that is going to work out for him in the long run, especially championship-wise. Byfeld still in the pit lane, and they are effectively 8 points lost.
That's absolutely 8 points lost. You know, it is easy to say now, and Gunnarsson will be thinking it now. Why didn't I just back off a little bit for those 8 points? Because, as you said, he'd rather those 8 than 0. He was trying to get 9, but, you know, can't be greedy. And unfortunately, he's not got anything in the end. So that's a complete disaster. Despite the fact that Byfeld is out of this race completely, they've actually neither gained nor lost anything here. And when you've got a 46-point deficit, that is just, you can't afford to do that. Now it's all resting on the end of the race here, really, for Jonas Gunnarsson. And that is going to be very, very difficult to gain the amount of points that he is hoping for here without, I believe, him taking a top 3. I mean, we could be as harsh as to say he probably needs to go on and win from here. Even then, I think with a win, since he picked up no stage points, taking out the bonus points he might get for various things, I think with a win he might even only gain about 5 points. I mean, that's how, you know, he could have halved his gains just in that moment there.
Yeah, I guess put it this way, Byfeld's got 4 wins. There's only 3 races of the season for Gunnarsson to win. So he basically needs to have a perfect end to the season. And this is going to be a tough mental race for Gunnarsson. He's ended up in P15 after things have worked themselves out a little bit. Got Hardman, Giros, Jans Lepit all going down pit road, trying to get themselves in position for a good restart. They've all exited still on the lead lap. So we've actually only got lap down drivers of Eck and Fredriksson. Fredriksson, by the way, got a black flag. So I would assume that's probably the incident points that he has gained after some contact and whatnot earlier. And definitely, might be going down pit road once again as the black flag comes a lot quicker the second time around. So it's Helmbro and Ericsson on the front row. We got Aronson, Kjellberg on the second, and Skoglund and Motin on the third row. As we get to the restart, the 77 23-lap old tyres. Everyone else on 8-lap old tyres. Let's see how he can hold on. That's a much better restart and very clean at the front.
Yeah, that's a great jump, but actually it might be his own sword to fall on there, because Ericsson therefore has been able to follow him and he's not got very much traffic around him, and that might be what helps Helmbro. But at any rate, he's now on the defensive. It hasn't taken long. Ericsson's looking to the outside, and this is where the danger comes with letting somebody on your outside there, but he has given the space there. Helmbro, surely Ericsson's going to be in the lead shortly.
Look how much he's pushing. He's got those fresher tyres. He can use the grip, and he's willing to push it. Look at that. The 77 is getting a bit squiggly as he tries to get on the power earlier than he would have wanted, asking more of the car, but it wasn't there. And the 37 jumps back to the front like we've seen most of today. Oh, the 94 goes around. The 84 in the background as well. So that's Uvenen on the outside, Motin on the inside. They bring out another caution.
Just as we sort of got 15 laps together or so before that stage caution, well, it was a caution for incident in the end as well, wasn't it? But that's now 2 within 12 laps there, which is not great going. But everybody very eager on the restart. This is a little bit the product of the situation created now with different tyre sets. And Oscar Motin, to be fair, doesn't even need any traffic for that. This, though, is a domino effect as, again, 3 wide when Uvenen didn't realise. Although I suppose it'd be harsh to expect him to realise from that situation. It was rather late. And it was, I believe, was that Fredrik Eck in the 19 trying to barrel his way down the inside with Oscar Fredriksson. Those were battling for the free pass amongst lead lap drivers.
Crazy scenes here at Bristol as we close in on the half race distance, and it is definitely going to be a full length or full time race, I should say. Yeah, I just wonder how many more cautions, because it seems to be that the drivers are able to get these longer runs in today. It's just their one silly little mistake happens, and then you're so easily on the knife edge around here that it just goes around. I guess after a few cautions in a row, it may take some time to get back going in a bit of a stint.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Or is this going to be the rhythm of the race now? You know, is this going to just continue on? As you mentioned, I remember us actually losing quite a lot more laps than we did before. It's only 6 through 18 cautions. Well, there's space for a lot more between now and the finish. What is there? 135 laps left. At absolute maximum, that's time for 33 more cautions. That would require us to have it on almost the first lap every time, and that is not going to happen. However, you get the idea. There is scope for a lot more to happen yet in this race.
Oh, there definitely is, and it's one of those races. I mean, they all are, to be honest, because all our races that we do are, hour and a half at least. It is a longish race all by yourself. It's not a 30-minute sprint. You have to get to the end and keep your car in pretty good shape to be able to battle. You don't want to be getting into contact where you can avoid it. But it's certainly, a different picture to this race compared to what the championship looks like. Just a reminder, Byfeld leading, he's not there. Gunnarsson, Broström, even Dan Holmer, where are they inside the top 10? All those top 4, they're nowhere to be seen. Points are up for grabs for other drivers here today. Jesper Ericsson is looking very good for that. It's only his 3rd start of the season, but as a series champion, he knows what he's doing is he gets us back to green.
And this time, no surprises with Jesper Ericsson taking the front. I guess the speed with which Ericsson gets through is a bit of a surprise, so can he maybe offer up a bit of a resistance now to Jesper Ericsson, who really, we haven't spoken about too much, but has dominated this race from the green flag running that we have had.
That is very true indeed. Lap 118 clicks to 119 as we see Ericsson get to 0.4 of an advantage at the front. This is Jonas Skoglund, who of course is back on basically the same tyres as everyone else now. It doesn't have that tyre advantage as we saw previously, but therefore he may already be on his 3rd set of tyres, and he's only got one more to take later in the race, whereas there will be some drivers out there will have at least, definitely 2 more tyres. So that could be an interesting, depending on how the cautions fly later on this race.
Yeah, indeed. It's so unpredictable here, isn't it? Which sometimes we're talking about, whether there's going to be a caution or not between the end of the race and now, and that is interesting. But almost here, you're talking about how many is there going to be? When are they going to fall? And I guess those come into the equation at other racetracks as well. But here, it's just made so much more fascinating by all of that. Would like to see, though, a bit of a green flag run here and see maybe some proper lap traffic with, or normal lap traffic. But that's becoming less and less likely the more cautions we get, because there's only 20 on the lead lap now, and they're still within 7 seconds, even after this amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're seeing Linus Broström there trying to reignite the fire of his race, but he's down in 18th position. That is a tough one for your reigning champion. Of course, last season in the next-gen car. This year comes to the O'Reillys, convincing Byfeld to get into the championship, and probably slightly regretting that one as Holmer, his old teammate, comes through in the background on his father. The 41 there is actually Bjorn Broström, the father of Linus, as they work their way through the back end of the top 20.
Yeah, indeed. This is not only the back end of the top 20, though, the back end of the lead lap as well. So these guys are going to be the first ones in the firing line. If indeed it goes long enough here for Jesper Ericsson to get on turns with them, Bjorn Broström and then Christopher Geros, who's just in behind him here. These two are fighting for last and second last. Oscar Fredriksson and Fredrik Ek are the only ones 1 lap down at the moment, so they're fighting away as well, though to be fair, Fredrik Ek is 2.5 seconds behind Fredriksson, so not much of a fight as it stands at the moment. But the lead lap being 1 lap down, all of it very, very interesting, very hard-fought battle, sometimes more hard-fought than the battle for the race lead, because it is all about survival back there. But we're past halfway now officially, and we are settling in here a little bit nicely.
Yeah, this is working out to be a nice run, and as you say, half distance. We've only got 1 car really out of it. Byfeld's still in the pit lane. Uvenen is 21 laps out, but he's come back, and I spoke too soon. The 0-13 has gone around. Oh, Kenneth Tier as well. Is that 2 separate incidents? Kenneth Tier with the meatball. He's had big damage there as caution comes back out. Was that a single or a double car incident?
Well, I saw Stiller going around first, I must say. And it is related Stiller was very slow off of the corner there, and Tier really didn't have... Oh, wow, he was very loose all the way through, and eventually was hit by Tier. I mean, somebody was going to, I suppose, and eventually he sent all the way around as another car finds the wall as well on the inside. So, yeah, it was always going to happen there, really, when somebody's wobbling like that. But a shame to see that green flag run come to an end. It was a decent run.
And from top positions, Gunnarsson and Bohlin coming down pit road. So they are doing this mid-strategy where they're going to take the fresher tyres now. Everyone else is on 29 lap old tyres. They're going to have a bit of freshness. And in this middle sort of period of the race, the third quarter, let's call it, they're going to try and have the fresher tyres then to make some positions. They should still have a set of tyres left after that if there's a late caution. But I don't think this is too bad from some drivers there. And actually, there's way more drivers coming down now. So it's actually going to be all changed. Quite a few of the drivers, we're only really seeing the top handful here stay in. Everyone else is coming down pit road.
Well, I think this is a bit early, you know, especially for those who pitted, staying out until the halfway stage. Well, not halfway, but till the stage, sorry, and pitted after that. I mean, you've got barely 30 laps on your tyres. Not all of them. Not many of them under green, so I don't really understand why they would do that. The halfway strategy I'm talking about is sort of splitting the second half of the race in half. That makes sense. The second part of this race is 150 laps, and so you'd have 75 laps to be halfway. We're still 35 laps away from that, so in my opinion, these tyres, especially among those who pitted under that previous caution, have got a very, very long way to go, but clearly not everybody agrees on that. Somebody comes out the pit lane there. Looked like Marcus Byfeld, but it isn't. He's already been in usage chat, by the way, to tell us that his car's not going to be seen again tonight, so this will be his drop round.
Ooh. I mean, not that it makes much difference, because he's probably only going to finish like 24th instead of 25th if someone else has a big accident, but still big for the championship that he is going to be needing to take this as his drop round, and all the others are going to count. Let's see if that happens as Fredriksson gets a black flag again. That'll be the second one of the day. The 37 gets us underway once again, with the 24 of Eracingligan coming in behind. Bulka and Kjellberg are fighting for third and fourth as we come off turn number 2, but it looks like the top two are just pulling away.
Yeah, and every time Eracingligan is getting into the wheel tracks of Jesper Eriksson, just following him really. And he's doing it very, very efficiently at this stage in the race, leaving absolutely everybody left behind. I mean, to be fair, the big names are all either languishing. You can see Joel Bohlin and Jonas Gunnarsson round the back end of the top 10 are all out of the race completely, like Byfeld and Fredriksson's are multiple laps down now. So I guess they're steaming out front because of a lack of competition, but they are also pretty quick at the front of this field.
That is, yeah, that's very true. You're seeing Kjellberg here riding on board with him a while ago, looking at his onboard. Oh, Skoglund, the 83, who was looking so good at one point in this race, brings out a caution, that 136. He's got the meatball as well. Big, big damage. Oh, he just carried so much speed on the outside line, and he hits that front left corner down on the wall on the apron, and that's going to be some decent repairs there. So that is basically his day done.
Well, yeah, looks like it. An interesting strategy from him earlier, and kept that going really after the stage caution. Didn't take him long before he was on to something different, and that's what you like to see from a driver who's not necessarily going to win the race on speed at the front. You want to see them try and win another way, because there's more than one ways to win a race, I should say. But
don't say that too fast.
I know. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to manage it after a drink either, that's for sure. But yeah, I do like to see those drivers doing that, and it's unfortunate that Skoglund's has come to an end there. And indeed, many's are actually down the back end of the field. There's a lot of guys who are limping around here, repairing cars through the pit stop cycles here. There's a lot of damage down there, a lot of people completely out really of the running, like Byfeld, as we've already seen, but also looks like Uvinen and Tier as well. So yeah, unfortunately the retirements are going to continue to stack up here, and that might reduce the scope for other strategies and stuff to happen to the leading two over the course of the final parts of this race.
Yeah, I wonder if this is just some other people taking their tyres, but obviously it's hard to say now, because if they just come in and do damage, we don't really have the information in front of us regarding the tyre situation. But I don't believe anyone has actually taken all of their tyres, as you would expect yet. Just out of interest, by the way, Jesper Eriksson down to Oscar Motin, all one pit stop so far at the stage caution. Then you have some drivers like Fredriksson, Linus Broström, Gyros. They're on 8 and 9 pit stops. 8 and 9 pit stops. That is ridiculous. The most on the lead lap is 7 with Johannes Leppert.
Yeah. That would be a whole multitude of things here. I know, especially for some of them, it would be black flags. For Fredriksson, at least 2 of those are black flags, maybe more. He's not been having a great time with those, but I've seen Linus Broström in there quite often repairing damage, so that must be where all of his come from. It's very, very hard to do around here. I mean, it's a very common strategy at the super speedways, and we're going to see it in 2 weeks' time, I'm sure, at Talladega, when people get involved in crashes, and they're normally not small around there, and they have to just pop out before the pace truck gets round. But that's a bit easier on such a big racetrack. This is, well over 5 times smaller than the next round's racetrack.
So let's see how this one goes. Jesper Eriksson gets us underway. The Yrii Hövve 250, and he's been leading for most of it. Or even if he's not been in the lead, he's been in the net lead with how the strategy has worked out. There's been a lot of cautions around here, and the drivers are having to manage their tyres to the end of the race, or the tyre usage, I should say. Not the tyres, they can go flat out, to be honest, with how we're looking, but just when they make those pit stops and the multitude of cautions. Erik Lundberg is making some moves up to P5.
Roars around the outside into the top 5 as well. That was pretty definitive. Dante Forsberg, good to see him in the top 5 briefly, although it was very brief. I haven't seen too much of him towards the front at all, actually, in this particular race. Hakan Schott also going all right. I think he was the first driver to make contact with another driver on that opening run, although didn't cause the first caution. Ripping right the outside there, the Jonas Gunnarsson. It's taken a bit of time to recover, but here he comes, taking these places back.
Absolutely. This is a weird situation where you can spin out and then you can still be fighting at the front, despite there being such a short pit lane around here. But that's how many cautions can bring you back into it. This is the fight for the lead, though. The 24 Eriksson is pushing Eriksson at the front as we get to 100 laps remaining in this race, and they don't necessarily need to battle this hard right now, but they're going for it, and they're pulling away 2 seconds to Lundberg already in P5.
Well, as long as the battling, say you don't have to battle, but as long as the battling's actually continuing to extend their gap to those others, I don't see anything wrong with it at the moment. And Eriksson does have the look of a driver who maybe wants to lead this field at the moment. I'm not sure really why he would want to, as he says. Not really much point. If you want to lead laps, I suppose, you have to be a championship contender. Unfortunately, Eriksson's outside the top 10 in terms of points. He's missed a round, but he's not a feature in this season's championship, really. But he does look rather threatening, although they seem to just be egging each other on, really, and driving further away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's a shame that these two aren't in the championship battle, because they are 2 of the best drivers that we have here. And obviously the season just hasn't worked out in terms of the availability for Eriksson. Eriksson had some bad races, then missed one as well, so not ideal, but they are putting on a show at the front here by 1.5 seconds. Because that's still, I think, maybe on the inside, trying to let through some drivers. That could always get a little bit tricky. Helmberg now coming to his outside. Here's Dante Forsberg, who's just going backwards, not quite able to keep that speed up that he would have wanted. He's on older laps, 49-lap old tyres compared to the 19 laps there of Helmberg.
You've got to be so careful when letting people through like this, Marcus. Marcus Stiller, rather. I want to say Marcus Hagman, who just got himself through. Stiller does not know where to go, really. Doesn't know whether to stay low, go high. Now he's completely in the way of Johannes Leppert, who will want him to get out of the way, but obviously he has the right to be there still, although it's costing Leppert positions down the inside, and there's very nearly contact. I mean, I'm slightly amazed we got away with that, really. It's just not the best idea, really, to try and let people through so obviously, I don't think. Makes everybody think, I can try and get through on them as quickly as I possibly can, but it's not actually the best idea. It's more likely to cause a crash, really. But anyway, Stiller manages to just about stay out of everybody's way. And oh no, Forsberg doesn't. He's in trouble. And now Stiller has actually hit one of the other drivers. There's a whole, oh dear, there's a whole pile of them down there.
So Stiller hit Gyros. We've got Uven involved there. They're almost blockading the road as they try and get back going. And we're less than 100 to go now. Erling's also got the meatball, so he must have been further contact somewhere. And that is not the way that we wanted that stint to go. We were just getting going with some nice racing there, but unfortunately a bit of a miscommunication maybe. Oh, there's already the 77. He's gone an interesting line. That has put the 357 off. And where is Robert Erling in all of this? Oh, there he comes in. A big hit, a big further hit there on Forsberg.
Yeah. And the initial driver, by the way, to pile into Forsberg was Fredriksson again. So his pretty difficult evening, not all of his own doing, comes to an end now. We'll see. There goes pit stand now. Pit stops for Ericsson as well. I was thinking that this was probably the right amount of time. I know we're still 20 laps short of halfway in this final stage. However, you do, I think, still want to be coming in at this stage in the race, really, so that you can take your tyres and not make sure that if you're caught up by a long green flag run, you're not on too older tyres by the time that begins.
That is very true. And they have to roll around. We are using the full pit lane here, so you do a whole lap effectively, keeping on the inside. And I do like this. Of course, you need to be careful with your fuel number, because when you pit suddenly like this at a caution, you have to be ready with the fuel number that you need to take to the end, to make sure that you're not still ending up with taking a full tank now, because you definitely don't need it. Just got to worry about the tyres as he gets back going. Once again, it is a bit of an awkward pit in and pit out here, but he's able to rejoin. And tough to say, Ewan, what is going to be the best strategy, because it all depends how long the green flag stints are and how he is able to work his way forward. If we have stop, start, then he might not get the runs that he needs to be able to use those fresher tyres.
Yeah, but if you make your if you make your stop at this stage, you might make it the earliest final stop of anybody. With just over 90 laps to go, you can absolutely go to the end from here, but with another set down on pit lane, will he actually want to do that? I guess is another question completely separate, but Alton's going to bring them back to green. He wanted to go just a little bit further before changing his tyres, and interesting that so few others went with the race leader there down to pit lane.
Let's see if it's going to work out. P11, he is on the restart. This leaves Araton to get us underway once again at the Yrii Hövve 250. Terrible start there from Lundberg. He's on the same age tyres as everyone else around here. And let's see if he's going to be able to hold himself up in number 2. Hockenschott is there in 3rd, and Peter Helmberg, who spun earlier in one of the cautions, he's there in 4th place, working his way to the front, just showing you how you need to stay in these battles. Gunnarsson is coming through nicely in P6 up the inside of Lars Bulker there. Almost a bit of contact down the back straight away, but it looks like he's going to be able to slide up the inside now of Oscar Motin.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, big slide and a knock-on effect as Joel Wallin hits Lars Bulker there. It wasn't in the end too bad. They get away with it, and through on the inside goes Wallin. He's looking good so far. Oh no, he's made contact again. This time with Motin, who spins around in front of the field and somehow is avoided again.
We've seen this so many times today, Ewan, where there should have been collateral damage, but nothing comes of it. The drivers managed to evade. Let's go back under the caution. So let's see this once again. Just the tiniest tag. To be honest, it wasn't a huge hit, but it was enough just to get that 94 with a big wiggle on. And to be honest, with how loose the cars are, it was actually a pretty big piece of contact. But I just mean it doesn't take a lot to get these cars offline.
Definitely not, no. And that's absolutely been proven by that incident there. I mean, I get Wallin's urgency, I suppose, trying to come down the inside like that, but you do have to be so careful. I do think these people forget that sometimes around here, because you think of this track, you think tight and bullring like, but it doesn't really mean you can lean on each other anymore. Even though you're cramped for space, you do have to accommodate one another, and more leaning on each other, more contact and more spins, more cautions here. We're not even halfway through the final stage yet. I think we're in pretty grave danger of missing laps again here this year.
So we have about 43 minutes left of the race timer, and the live timing is predicting 23 minutes of action, but that is assuming mostly green flag running.
I don't know if you saw it when the green flag flew, but it said less than an hour and 10. I mean, that's already not true. So I'm not really reading too much into that race timer, to be honest. Maybe, I didn't know it was 43. I thought it was close to something like 33, to be honest with you. But maybe we'll be okay then. But
no, you are right. Sorry, no, you are right. It is 33.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, because I forgot. Instead of 2 hours, there's an hour and 50. There was 10 minutes less, so that's why I was 10 minutes out.
We'll keep a closer eye on it when it really gets down to it. But yeah, I do fear, because the way it's less actually the time remaining for me and the laps remaining. It's a little bit trivial at this stage because there's so long left in terms of laps. The more pressing issue is the increasing, I believe, frequency of the cautions. I think we started off on quite a good foot, and it was only very small things causing crashes. But I think the cautions are becoming more frequent, and more careless incidents are causing it as well, which I don't think is a good sign.
Yeah, the first third of the race was definitely a lot more clean than this middle third that we are in, and shortly the final third will be coming your way. So what we're sitting at this year, oh god, it's all over the place at the moment. So the top two, Aerith and Lundberg, they're on 65 lap stints. Helmberg's on 35, Gunnarsson's on 10, Ericsson 9, then back to 65 for Hockenschott, 10 for all of the cars, Wallen, Bolker, Hagman, etc. We're all over the place with the tyres, and that is going to add even more drama to this middle part of the race. I'm sure. What a start there from the 24, and the 77s come through as well. Lundberg has not had the start he would have wanted. He's on the older tyres, and he, compared to everyone else now, he's banged off the wall already. He's got a further contact from the 33. He needs to hold this line, otherwise he's going to be hit from behind once again. Now Jo Wallen comes down the inside.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful with that. That was nearly a ricochet back into the field there from the 18. And he very nearly collected the field. It's still not over here. Hagman's down his inside, and there's a queue of them behind. Schott and Kjellberg are there, and then Lars Bolker. But when you're side by side like this, there's just nowhere to go.
Oh, further contact. The 12 gets tagged again. Caution is going to come out, I'm sure. Yes, it does. Finally, with that 169. And Dan Holmer got a involvement in that one. I think Fredriksson might have been the other car that I forgot to mention, as Bjorn Broström has a spin afterwards. And you're right, Ewan. Cautions breed cautions.
Indeed, they do. And they are coming thicker and faster at this stage. Again, it's a case of a driver not leaving enough space on the outside line. Two drivers not giving each other enough space, I suppose, all throughout there. Who was that piling in? Goodness me.
Bjorn Broström.
Broström had no regard for his own life or anybody else's. That was quite reckless, but anyway, that was he went piling into that down the back end of the field. And speaking of the back end of the field, by the way, we've got a lot of drivers in there for minutes and minutes who we may not be seeing again in this race, and you'd think that would help to thin out the field and help us clean up this race, but as you say, these cautions are just continuing at the moment.
Therefore, we only have two drivers not on the lead lap, Holmer and Stiller 5 and 7. But yeah, Erling, Forsberg, Gyros, Uven and Skoglund, Tier and Byfeld, all so many laps down. They're going to be there for a long, long time. At half race distance, I was saying it was basically only Byfeld that was out of the race at that time. But now it looks like it's more drivers, just some 50, not even 50 laps later, 45 laps later. from that point. So definitely, just proof of the situation. I do like the fact, though, that we still come to this track for the opportunity for the drivers to have a bit more of a difficult race. Sometimes, especially the likes of New Hampshire a few weeks ago, even Kansas, it wasn't that difficult for the drivers. They were able to go on these long runs, have very few cautions. Now we're back into this, and it's a slog out there. It's going to be a strong driver who wins this race.
It certainly is. And just to that point about coming here, it's sort of like, well, it's very different to the Monaco Grand Prix, isn't it? But it's almost like that as, in many ways, obviously. But, it's one of those tracks where, if you were to suggest it today, would you really do it? No. But, now that it's on the calendar, you've sort of got to go there because, it's sort of a staple of the calendar. And that's the case in this schedule, I feel, with Bristol. And the case for many racetracks around the world, I feel, or quite a few anyway. It's just an iconic place to come. It is very, very difficult, but this is not uncommon in real life either. Let's not pretend these drivers are the outliers here. This track is the outlier. This is the racing it creates.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to, that is for sure. And the last great Colosseum is bringing us some drama today. Lap 174 of the Yrii Hövve 250 as we work away in towards turn 1 for another time of asking. Ericsson on the outside in that P2. He's got his teammate of Gunnarsson trying to follow him, but Elmro will just cover that one off, at least into turn 3. But through turn 4, it's going to be Gunnarsson on the outside. It's going to be Ericsson on the outside as well for the race lead, trying to get that one back. He's on the fresher tyres by a big margin now. 74 laps old for the 24 by just 18, and that is the advantage right there.
Yeah, and there's the caution. So I was just about to, and Frederick Eck is involved, Hakan Schott as well. I think, Lumber's got meatball indeed. I think we could see now, though, Ericsson could pit because of this. Oh dear, Eck goes for a spin and comes back the other way. Lundberg collected, Hakan Schott as well, and that was Homer again for the second caution in a row, I think, getting caught up in someone else's incident. Yeah, he is in pit lane again, so maybe that's a clue. I think Ericsson should come in here because actually those tyres are very old now, and he's not only lost out to Ericsson very convincingly, I think he's in pretty big danger of losing out to a lot of people. And yes, there's track position to worry about, but I think his tyres are a bigger concern.
I agree, and we are at 25 minutes to go and about 19 estimated, so we are very, very close to lap distance. Time distance finish, which means the less laps means the track position is almost more critical because you don't know how many laps there's going to be. You're going to have to take that final set of tyres earlier maybe than you would have expected if we were going all the way to lap 250.
Well, exactly, and I think that is absolutely factoring in Ericsson's thinking at the moment. You've got to remember as well, if we're thinking about time, which I do often, you're thinking about losing 3 minutes per caution, 2.5 to 3 minutes. So, when you think about, we've only got 20 odd left, it only takes, a few more cautions and suddenly you're down to 10 without even moving anywhere. So that's the concern you've also got to think about here. You look at, on the one hand, you think, well, 72 laps left, we've got ages. Indeed, we managed 60 laps in a row last time we came here in the end of 2024. We could see another run like that, in which case we don't need the time. We could see the race continue on in the way that it has gone, and in which case there really isn't very much time left in terms, if you're thinking about just it in terms of green flag racing. That's the juggling act and the two sides to this coin that Ericsson's got to figure out. But I think he should have been in that caution there, because this is going to get a lot worse than just being demoted to second, I think.
I agree. That was his wake-up call that he should have reacted to be honest. But let's see how it goes. Let's see who is going to have the right choice. 22 lap olds for Ericsson, 78 laps old for Ericsson. It's a mixture behind. We've got 23 for Gunnarsson, 48 for Helmbro, a lot of 23s and some 15s, 10s, 7s. So there's a lot fresher tyres behind, and Ericsson is by far the oldest tyres out there. It's going to be a tough restart here. Gunnarsson is definitely going to get him. It's going to be a lap 180. Therefore, we have 70 laps remaining in this race, about a quarter to go. And Ericsson gets us underway with a 33 as expected, getting the run to the inside. The 24 off on the outside line works here. Will he have the tyres to get the power down? Yes, he has. Maybe it's not quite over just yet as he continues on.
Side by side, Gunnarsson is surely going to have him here. And this, as you say, that should have been the wake-up call before. This surely now is going to wake him up, because Gunnarsson's going to get through here pretty comfortably. And Arisson's going to respond. Well, I think he's deluding himself almost about the wear of these tyres by just sort of attacking harder. And it does work a little bit, I suppose, but he's eventually going to lose out to these guys who are on newer tyres. And yeah, he's already made the mistake. It's now time to correct it. The next caution, if there is going to be one. But at the moment, he's been very quickly demoted to third place, and he's just trying to combat it by pushing harder.
This is very interesting. Maybe the tyres aren't quite as much of a factor as we were expecting, and maybe he's able to hold on. That's why he stayed out, I assume, and he's going to wait for another caution that I think is better timed. Looking at Ericsson, he's only made 2 pit stops though, so he does have an extra set of tyres. Ericsson has 2 sets, but when is he going to use them if we're only looking at maybe 20 minutes to go in this race? There's not a lot of time to find an opportunity, but he is keeping up.
Well, and again, if you think about one caution, that immediately brings you down to 17 minutes and so on. So you're really not looking at very much time left. But as you say, Ericsson's got 2 sets of tyres down on pit lane. It's not like he's running out. So that's what confuses me. Even if this race were to go to laps here, and do something which would be quite unexpected, to be honest, then even then he's not running out, you know, and even then it's a bad decision in my mind to stay out under that caution. So yeah, this is strange, but he is continuing on in third and he is keeping pace with the leaders. The only problem is, and I can't prove this, but I've just got a feeling, I think Ericsson's pushing harder to stay up with those two than the 2 leaders are.
Well, definitely, if he's pushing 5% harder and the leaders are just holding that 5% back, then it'll even out the difference in their tyres, that is for sure. But to be honest, he's actually trying to overtake him here. Gunnarsson is definitely not going at full pace. They're trying to make sure that they get to the end nicely if it were to stay green. Big slide from the 24, doesn't have the rear tyres that he would have wanted. He's got to be careful not to take out his rival there on the outside. The 2 yellow numbered cars, but the 33 holds on.
Yeah, it does seem tricky on the inside. Gunnarsson's been pretty firm on the outside, actually. Oh, well, not next to the wall, obviously, just through the middle line. He's never quite run as low as the others, even when he is on the low line. You see it there. Just maybe half a car width higher than some of the others through there. But yeah, when he's up in that medium lane, he is, I think, pretty unpassable, especially when you've got the difference in tyres that these two have. And now you see it, to my mind, what has been sort of waiting, a ticking time bomb almost, waiting to happen for some time. Finally, Ericsson's stepping on it now. Gunnarsson is forced to follow him, and Ericsson can't. He doesn't have that extra level to go to. He's been running at that. You know, it's like a running race, isn't it? If you're running at your absolute maximum, you can't accelerate when everybody else does.
Absolutely. He was sat there for a while Gunnarsson and Ericsson, they were just sat, you know, at a nice speed, and then they waited for their time to bolt. There's no reason to go flat out straight away if you can avoid it. We're trying to get through some traffic now. That's the 101. This is a teammate of the 2 leaders, a sister teammate. Is that going to be an issue? It's an ex-teammate of the 24, but no, Hoggershot doesn't cause any problems. And to be honest, very sensible driver, so that is making sense. And this is a big speed differential at the front, though, as they start to lead away. Here's Oscar Motin. Your Bulker up is inside. Linus Broström back inside the top 10.
Yeah. Again, they continue to do it. Bulker so close there to getting turned with Motin still alongside him. He gets away with it, thankfully, this time. And Linus Broström says, thanks very much, I'll take the position as well. He moves up to 8th. And then you can see the train of them all up in front here. Linus not in a bad place here, actually. After having quite a quiet day, I think he's had a troubled day, actually, in times. But, yeah, he's back in the top 10 when it matters, and moving the right way up the field as well.
Has Linus had a troubled day? He's been down the pit lane 11 times. Ericsson won, and there's currently about a second and a half between them on the track. That is absolutely... It's Bristol, baby. That is absolutely ridiculous. As Motin gets past the traffic, he is Leppit as well, but he's also laps down. And we're just at that point now where we're getting the lap drivers involved, and hopefully not too involved with the other drivers coming through.
Yeah, I mean, Stiller actually got a free pass not so long ago to get one of his laps back. Well, he's 6 laps down again now. And Fredriksson and Schott at 1 lap down each as well. As you say, proper lap traffic is playing a role now. Marcus Hagman is only a second or 2, maybe 2 or 3 away from being lapped himself. And there's Fredriksson, who is rather limping at this stage in the race. He was a real challenger earlier on. He's now just trying to stay out of this big battle, which is really stemming from third, to be honest, and Arudson. But this is where it's most intense. Side-to-side contact between Kjellberg and Bolker.
Bolker was like a quarter of a car further back. That might have been a crash, but fortunately he hit the mid part of the car where it's a bit more stable. As we're over lap 200 now, less than 50 remaining in this race. And as it stands, we're going to be fine in terms of the time limit, which is what we want to see. We want to see this getting to the end and seeing these strategies play out, with which tyre strategy. We're over 100 laps, therefore, for Arudson on this set of tyres. He's still out there at the front as Kjellberg is working his way forward. That's P6.
Oh, look at this. This is just fantastic racing. Isn't it great to have green flag racing, an actual run put together? It does feel like a rhythm circuit, though, not only for a driver, but actually for a field of drivers. I can't think of very many circuits that actually you need the whole group, the whole field to be in a rhythm at the same time to actually get a green flag run going here. But that's exactly what you need here at Bristol. But that's what we've got now. Only 45 laps to go, and you can see how quickly they get ticked off when you are racing full green. It just shows you, as I've been trying to repeat in this final stage of the race, this race is much closer to its conclusion than you think, whichever way round we go, laps or time.
Yes, and I guess the drivers will somewhat be thinking about that, although some of them will probably have their fuel to the end. Well, they will have their fuel to the end, so that shouldn't be too much of a factor. But those who may be, if they need to just still take a little splash, that could be an interesting one. But we are still waiting for final sets of tyres, that's for sure. Arudson, you would assume, is going to dive down as soon as we get another caution. Well, if we get another caution. But well, the chances maybe go green to the end, who knows? But we are really spreading out now, and that is going to add the lap traffic occasion, as I was mentioning. Here's Kjellberg. He's in P6. He's 6 seconds off the lead. He's got Broström a couple tenths behind, Bolker a couple tenths ahead, and there's Peter Helmbro, but these guys are already over 5 off the lead. Yeah, indeed. And it's interesting how we're already starting to say if there is another caution just after this. It just shows you what a change just one little run can make it. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens for the remainder here as we go on board back in the pack with Janis Leppit, who has had a number of near misses tonight. I remember that most recent one when I think it was Oscar Motin who spun, and he only just squeezed between the wall and Motin's front bumper. And look, as luck would have it, I think Oscar Motin, who was the driver, I think was just in front of him all those laps ago, he's right in front of him now as well in a fight for 8th place. Remarkable how some of these guys are able to survive in the face of so many incidents. There is going to be very few people with no incidents, if any, out there today, to be honest. Maybe just Ericsson, to be honest. All the other drivers have been involved in something, so that's why it's an attritional game. Even if you have a spin early on, if you stay in there, if you pit the right time, you can get yourself back up. And for Linus Broström, realistically, you could actually get a podium with 11 pit stops. And who knows if there'll be one final one a bit later. With 11 pit stops, I can't even guess if he's on his final set of tyres or not. To be honest, we'll have to certainly find out that one a little bit later when we ask him. Here is Linus, the onboard. P7 as it stands. He's trying to get the run on Kjellberg. That's half a look to the inside. His idea there is obviously to make him push too deep into the corner, then get the run of the next one. But no, he actually just lost time midway through as there's a rush of the wall for Kjellberg. Well, this is a phenomenon now we're watching with Linus Broström that you floated nearly 200 laps ago that is only now coming true because we've had so much going on in the first, 4/5 of this race. Finally, Linus working lap after lap after lap to try and get a move on Matthias Kjellberg. Now,
Kjellberg, his line is not quite the most disciplined in the world, and so Broström is able to get himself down the inside a little bit easier. But you can see the way he's just moving the car around in the mirrors, just looking a little bit, setting up the overtake. It's just going on lap after lap after lap. It's a bit of a shame we've had to wait over 200 laps to see a fight like this, but finally a fully worked pass, a fully worked move on Matthias Kjellberg, and he's not going to give it up easily. Linus Broström looking for 6th place.
And look how risky this is. Kjellberg might have to run with the banking on that outside, but Broström is not giving this one up just yet. He's thinking about it. He's pushed Kjellberg way wide though, and the 7-1, the reason why is because you sort of yo-yo a little bit. You dive up the inside, you gain some time, and then the one on the outside gets the run and the better straight line speed. So you sort of yo-yo, you try and get inch by inch closer and closer, but it's definitely not an easy one. And that's why this battle can easily take 10 or 15 laps to materialize. All they're doing right now is losing time to Bulker ahead, so this could be their highest position that they can get today.
Well, it's fast becoming that because of this fight. I mean, the guys who are trapped behind, like Leppit and Motin, have no say in whether they can get any higher now, because Broström and Kjellberg effectively decided for them by having this fight. It's an extraordinary battle, isn't it? Broström on the inside there, just not getting anywhere. And Kjellberg on the outside holding on. Helmbro, meantime, gets past Ericsson, who I think very quickly is going to become helpless to stop people coming past him.
That is very true. 120 laps now. What a stint this is. If we end up going green to the end in this sequence as well, that is an almighty charge from the 24. To be honest, it's kind of working out. But those fresher tyres, you would assume he would at least be battling up with Gunnarsson and having a podium chance today. Now that he's lost it from Helmbro, it's going to be almost impossible for him to get that one back. But Helmbro, I mean, he's on 92 lap old tyres himself.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's tyres are young anymore. That's safe to say. I can't see anybody below 50 laps, 40 laps. Sorry, we've got a bit further down. But yeah, it's nothing like what Albertson's got. Here comes Leppit on the outside of Kjellberg. It always makes me wince when someone gets to the outside like that. But that's where you've got to be. Even though the actual rubber doesn't look like it's down there, you can see the rubber really starting to develop on the low side. Actually seems like the high side's the place to be at the moment, or at least a little bit further up.
Yes, it certainly is, and I guess as the track changes over the race, you have to just find the groove that works for you, and it's ever changing, because it's not just the groove that works for you now. Maybe in 20-30 laps time, when your tyres start to wear, you have to go a little bit higher and actually find a different groove, and that's what the drivers are looking out for every single lap of this race. With just over 20 to go, we've been going for a long time. Even Ericsson now is on 70 lap old tyres after us saying that he was on the fresh tyres earlier.
Yeah, indeed. Look at this. Wow. Oh, Haraldson's in big trouble there. That was a nice move from Lars Bohlin, by the way. He might even have a chance at top 3 there with Peter Helmbro just in front. But this, I thought that Haraldsson was at least guaranteed a top 4 based on the gap that there was there. But that gap has been absolutely annihilated. Maybe it's just Lars Bohlin going very quickly, because he's looking quite threatening on the back of Peter Helmbro right now as well. But never mind. He's going to get another life. Haraldsson is going to get the caution that, frankly, he needed about 30 laps ago.
And I would assume everyone is going to come down pit road and take those tyres. Pretty much everyone will have a spare set of tyres left, and this is the time to use it. There's only going to be 5 minutes left, and that is some big contact there on the inside there for Kjellberg. That is really going to hinder his race, because there's not enough time to even get the damage repairs and gain any time back.
Not really. If we go green, this race will only last another 5 minutes. But as you predicted, everybody's coming in. This is exactly what, and I know I always say it on these oval races, but leave a set of tyres for the end. You don't need to use them all. You don't need to plan to use them all. It's fine to leave a set if the opportunity doesn't come past. But if it does, you've got them there and you can go to them late on. This is the exact scenario that I talk about every week, that you're waiting for that moment for. Everybody coming in at once. It also helps actually people get back on the lead lap. Joel Bohlin and Björn Broström are going to be back on the lead lap. Again, unless Wallin's just ruined it there by pitting, we'll find out. But 4 tyres from everybody, it has to be. Now it's a straight fight. There's no differences up and down the field here. 4 new tyres for everybody.
And the race off pit road is going to be... Well, yeah, obviously not close for Ericsson, but in behind is actually quite interesting. What order are we going to start in? It looks like it's going to be Helmbro, Bulka, Aronson, then P5, Lepit, Brostrom, and Bjorn Brostrom even, though he's quite far behind because, wow, we've actually only ended up with 8 drivers on the lead lap at the end of all of this, and that is caught out the likes of Bohlin, who's up the front for a long time today. He's now a lap down. So, I mean, really, it's just a battle between these top 7. I guess Bjorn Brostrom will get to the back of that once we get to the end of the sequence. But really, it's the top 7 drivers now going for this win.
It is. And I remember a very similar scenario, although with a few more candidates at the end of the last race here. I think it said 10, wasn't it, on the lead lap at the end of the last race here. It doesn't often keep many on the lead lap, but we do have a few more lapped cars in the race this time round. Still 18 of the 25 who started, which is a better percentage than what we had last time, but they shouldn't actually play a role now. This race is too short from now to the finish for anything other than, as you say, those top 7, top 8 to be really fighting for this win.
And we are, I mean, actually, no, we're going to be absolutely fine on time, to be honest, even if we're under caution, I believe, to the end of this race. So let's see how this one is going to end. Technically, about 17 laps to go. And we're going to get Jesper Eriksson getting the Yrii Hövve 250 underway for about the millionth time today. He's led so much of it, but will he lead at the end? Oh, the 33 already is into the barrier. He takes out Aronson with that. There's further contact, and this is not what we wanted to see right when we're expecting a showcase finish.
That is a disaster. I mean, Jonas Gunnarsson has just had 2 pretty small mistakes that have potentially cost him upwards of 20 points tonight. That is absolutely extraordinary. Again, he just loses it in exactly the same place. It was off of turn 2 last time. Oh, it's just the same thing again. It's almost a carbon. It's like watching a replay. This time, the whole field's right behind him, and so they all pile in.
Wow, taking Linus there with some contact as well. But they kind of have to stay in it. If your car's somewhat drivable, you have to stay in it with so little laps to go. Here's Johannes Lepit, the 40 view of it, and he just squeezes through, gets a tiny bit of contact, and then finds a bit of room again. To be fair, that could have been a whole lot worse.
He's either a very lucky man or very skillful. I haven't decided which. but he's had a couple of those tonight. Bjorn Brostrom had to have the free pass, so he started right at the back, and that might have not been the worst idea. Having seen what happened, absolutely just slams on the brakes, absolutely the right thing to do. He didn't actually gain any places as a result of taking it so cautiously, so we will start from the back of the lead lap, but he does have a clean car, and he might be in the minority with that.
Yes, I think most people out there will be having to buff out some paint jobs by the time we get to the next race in a couple of weeks' time. That is for sure. So yeah, we're going to be absolutely fine in terms of a sprint finish. In terms of the lap count, but where will we stand in terms of the finishing order? Ericsson, your champion from a couple of years ago. Helmbro, a race winner, multiple podium, multiple pole sitter in this championship. Then of course we got Lepit, Bulka going for their first wins. Gunnarsson, champion from 3-4 years ago, and Brostrom, your reigning champion as well. So all sorts of different stories up there. And of course Aronson, who was just involved in that, he will have some big damage in that 24 car.
Yes, and that's such a shame as well. He was given a lifeline with that caution, really. Just not able to use it in the end. But we'll see what he does on this restart. After what we saw in the previous one, literally anything could happen. But Jesper Eriksson, the big favourite, who can really challenge him for that race victory in 12 laps?
Jesper Eriksson comes round the corner to come to the restart. Lap 2:39. Just over 10 laps remaining in this one. He's now got Helmbro to his outside. And is this going to be the final one? Leppert cannot get it off the line at all. He's not on the older tyres. He doesn't have that excuse. He gets absolutely freight trained by 4 cars, as we're also seeing Gunnarsson try to come around his outside. And here's Broström almost sinking in inside up his sister team there of Lars Bulka. And we've already got Egg having some problems, but we stay under green flag.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get these laps over, or whether this is going to be interrupted one more time. But Ericsson will be hoping this goes to the end, because he's clearly the quickest man in this field, and with this grouping of drivers, the direct challenges, they've got no chance. Ericsson surely on his way to a race victory. The question is who's going to finish in what position further behind, I think, really. Lars Bulka at the moment only just hanging on from Linus Broström, and then a recovering Jonas Gunnarsson trying to get what he can out of a night where he should have had so much more.
Look at that at the front though. Ericsson over a second already. He's pushing to the front. These fresher tyres, it's quali laps for him. No one really has to be worried about their tyres, but they do have to not spin out like we've seen. And there's definitely some damage for these cars. Broström, Gunnarsson, Ericsson, they've all got some contact after that previous caution. So it really is just Ericsson on his own out the front. And I mean, it's looking good. Oh no, we've got a yes, we do. We've got a caution. And this means we may just get a little sprint to the end, Ewan.
Yes, a very short, I think 2 laps. Oh, there it is. Well, you don't need me to describe that crash. Just replay one with what I said earlier. But yeah, I think it will be 2 or 3 laps maybe when we go green here. I think the cautions here are 5 laps rather than 4, because the track is so short. So I think based on when what lap it came out, it'd be 2 laps to go, and we'll go green at the end of 2:48. But we'll wait and see. As you say, even with the maximum amount of caution, which is almost what we've had in the end, we were not going to run out of time. Though I don't know how the timer affects the green-white checker finishes, whether we ever get any of those, or whether we're going to be denied. Because I think if we do need them, I'm not sure we're going to have time for them.
We had this before.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what happened. It was at North Wilkesboro. And we ended up having this weird 1-lap finish. It wasn't a green-white checker. It was just a 1-lapper.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
Because the game gets very confused about when to put the white flag out in situations like that. Because they're going a lot slower than the average lap. But so the game thinks there's enough time for 2 more rather than 1 more. But we're going so slowly that there's only 1 more. So yeah, that might happen again.
Well, let's see how this one ends. In theory, I think we should have lap 249 and 250, I think, which will be a 2-lap finish, green-white checker anyway, naturally. And Jesper Ericsson needs to hold on. He's got Peter Helmbro, Lars Bulka right in behind him. Helmbro's 5th in the championship, and to be fair, he's only 13 points ahead of Broström, who's behind Broström, who's 4th in the championship. And then we have Lars Bulka, who's down in 11th. In fact, Lars Bulka has not even got a top 10 finish, and he might get a podium if he's able to hold on. And Broström really needs this points with Gunnarsson behind him, with Dan Holmer behind him as well. This could be some important points for him to regain for that 2nd place in the championship.
Yeah, indeed, and that might be what some of the driver's focus now comes to, actually, because Marcus Byfeld, even I think on his worst day, well, definitely his worst day this season, he has still been able to sustain a very large lead. Now, Gunnarsson, I think, no matter what happens here, almost is going to actually gain some points, but it's going to be a measly amount compared to the 46 that he needs to gain over Byfeld. Yes, Byfeld has lost that safety net of a good drop, however, and Talladega's next, however, form has shown that he's still in control.
He certainly has. 37, he's only coming to do a few guest appearances this year, but he might be able to grab himself a race victory as ever in the speed that he's got. It's a couple of laps dashed to the end, and what a restart that was. Peter Helmbro on the outside trying to get that 2nd place, but look at Lars Bulka up the inside, and Helmbro has a wiggle too.
It's tight on the exit again as they try and come high. That's tight, and Helmbro's been hit twice in front of the field. The white flag's waving. This race is going to go to a finish, but how are these three going to get to the end? Goodness me.
As we also saw the black flag there for Lars Bulker, it's going to be Jesper Eriksson around the final corner. The Yrii Hövve 250 is going to go the way of the Sim Race Sweden driver on his guest appearance this race. And look at that, Lars Bulker with the black flag in second place. He's going to drop down. Gunnarsson might end up with the second place there, as it looks like Leppert would then be in third. And after all that, Linus Broström is going to be down in P10. What a finish. That is going to be a replay finish for sure. Bulker's dropped down to 11th after his penalty, a couple of laps down. That is a big, big shame, but that was because of the incident limit and the contact there at the end.
What a strange bit of contact it was as well. I mean, I guess you can expect everybody to be leaning on each other as they come to the end, but the three of them, they just got stuck together, just drifted to a stop down on the low side on the way towards turn one. Very, very strange. While right on the other side of the racetrack, Eriksson was powering round to a victory. Have a look at this. Gunnarsson just slips through there. Outzen piles in when he can absolutely see that coming. And look at this. They just continue driving into each other. I've not seen that among three quite talented drivers for some time. Look at this. This is a bit silly, really. But they all eventually just drift to a stop rather clumsily on the apron. And then there's another whack there as well. Yeah, dear oh dear. Not a great finish for those three. But Jesper Eriksson, the deserving winner.
What a weird race here at Bristol, but we did get the full 250 laps in the end with quite a few minutes to spare, about 8 minutes or so to spare in the end of the lap limit. Eriksson won. It was Sim Race Sweden from Jonas Gunnarsson and Johannes Leppert getting a podium here today for Lion GP. Kjellberg, we saw a lot of him today. He ended up in fourth place. Bjorn Broström, what a finish from him for MHE Racing in fifth with his team boss and the sponsor of today's race. Thanks to Marcus Hogman for the Yrii Hövve 250 there in P6. Ayrton is his seventh. Helmbro, Linus Broström and Håkan Schopp, the first driver, laps down. Lars Bulker, Fredrik Ek, Fredriksson, Stiller and Motin, your top 15. Look at these drivers having big issues today. Joel Wallen, he was a top 10 driver, but not getting the finish he would have wanted. Dan Holmer, your winner here 18 months ago. Uvenen, Lundberg and Erling, the top 20. And the final few drivers, Forsberg, Geros, Skoglund, Tier. And the big news is Marcus Byfeld not even getting to the finish of this race. Let's get some words from these drivers as Jesper Eriksson, the number 37. You're only making a few appearances this year, Jesper, but I mean, you must be loving that one. A pretty dominant drive. You're definitely the quickest car out there today.
I love this track. I remember when I was a kid playing, I think it was NASCAR 2008 on the PlayStation 2, just ripping around Bristol like today, and it's such a blast. I still really enjoy this track, and to be back just for fun and have this performance, I love it. It's why I'm here.
Yes, certainly is. Of course, it was stop, start. We had so many cautions as expected. How was it actually having those thoughts of when you take the tyres, to be honest, because there were so many cautions, you kind of could choose whichever one you wanted.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I just went by feel. Some pits I was like, let's take some tires, and that was my strategy for today. Not much more other than let's make it to stage, and then the rest is just the Wild West when we take tires for not so, and it worked for some reason.
Yes, certainly did. And then we get to the finish here, and we thought we were going to have a sort of 10-lap sprint. It ended up being 2 laps with a further caution, basically a green-white checker. How were you feeling coming to that final restart?
I felt quite good. I knew we were either going to end by a caution, or I was going to get a jump out of the start and just try to push for the fastest lap, which I did, which was fun, and I got in the end. So that should be Grand Slam with fastest laps, most laps led, win, pole, fastest in practice. So I'm happy. I'm happy in my return.
Certainly, and it's a little while till we get to that, to thinking about that. But what about next season? Do you think you'll be able to find time in the autumn to come and have a full season to go for the championship?
Hopefully, that's what I would would like to, but we'll see. There's some changing happening in my life now towards the summer, so we'll see. Hopefully.
Well, indeed. Hopefully we speak to you again. So yeah, see you, Jesper, and I think we're going to see you again this season, aren't we?
Oh yeah, Talladega for sure. It's it's the Bald Eagle track, so it's gonna be ripping around the Sweet of Alabama. Free Bird is gonna play for sure, so I'm gonna be back. Don't worry.
Nice. We'll see you then. Congrats on your win today.
Thank you, boys.
And then we'll bring in Jonas Gunnarsson and Jonas number 33. I'm not being funny. I didn't think I was going to be speaking to you today. I didn't think you're going to be able to get up there on the podium, but what a crazy finish. Let's start with that. What was that chaos you saw on the penultimate lap there?
Yeah, I saw Lars hitting Peter, and then Linus also hitting Peter, and I was like, I tried to go low and keep the foot on the gas and try to avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen actually the replay here. You had a lot of damage on your car at the end there. How was that handling in those final couple of restarts?
I was turning right on the straights, and the tires were screaming in the corners. But I have fairly new tires, so it worked out.
Yes, certainly. And, your pace today was actually pretty good, I would say, on the longer runs. There was a couple of weird occasions though. Were you well, I guess it's a question in general for all of the drivers, like, were you managing tires there quite a bit? Because there was one case where you were like P6, P7, and then within 5 laps you just switched it on, drove fast, and then you just drove your way to second place. Were you sort of controlling the pace and the track position quite a lot?
Yeah, I was trying to control the tires, but then I realized that this is gonna be a lot of yellow, so I want to be in the front, so I went on the outside, and the outside was really fast, but as soon as you stepped over it a little bit, the car just spun around and you had no way to save it.
Yeah, you had a couple of spins today, one at the end of the stage, which cost you, I mean, at least 8 points. What did you think about that when you're having that battle with Alex?
Yeah, it's like so stupid. I could let Alex by and just cruising and get some points, but what's the fun in that?
I like that.
Yeah, I was going for the win, and Jesper was here and showing us where the cabinet should stand. And when Biffelt was out, I was like, yeah, maybe I got a shot at the win this time, but no, not today.
Oh, maybe next time in Talladega you got a few teammates to help you out. So yeah, good luck, and we'll speak to you next time.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
Cheers. And then lastly, we'll bring Johannes Leppit, the number 40, getting his name on the podium. And Johannes, this is great to come and talk to you. You've been so strong for so long in this championship, and now getting a reward with a podium. How does that feel?
No, I mean, it feels great, honestly, to finally get the podium. Because I think I remember in the first 2 races, I was in a very strong podium position. But then in the first race, I think Linus just pipped me. And then in the second race, it was a caution with like 3 laps to go. And I didn't have a spare set of tires, so I fell down to 12th. But I mean, it's really nice to finally have a podium. Especially, I wasn't actually expecting a podium today. I mean, I was languishing down at like P15 the entire race with 18x and 2 minutes of damage. But, the only lap that matters is the last lap, so...
Well, certainly there was a lot of chaos there with the final couple of laps. How did you see that from your point of view?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I was actually really scared of the chaos because, like I said, I was on 18x, so anything, like any crash, could have just risked me getting a penalty as well. And I did actually get a 4x when Linus and the other guys crashed, I think, the second last caution, and that pumped me up to 22x. I was scared for my life, and I believe on the last lap there was like that touch, and they almost touched me, I believe, and that would have been the end of my race. But thankfully I managed to slither my way through the carnage for my first ever podium.
Wow, that's amazing. Right on the limit, but yeah, got your podium. So congratulations, and yeah, hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, and yeah, hopefully I'll speak to you again soon as well.
Indeed. See you there. So that was the interviews for today's race. Jesper Eriksson getting the win in the end, and the Yrii Hövve 250 going to his name. In a couple of weeks' time, we go to Talladega, the 23rd of April, and you all know what that means. That is some slipstream heaven and some team play going on for sure, and the tricky triangle. But of course, we'll be back next week for the Road Course Series, which is coming very quickly to its conclusion. So we've got the penultimate race there. That is Sonoma for the Area 81 Grand Prix. So we'll see you next week for the road course, a couple of weeks for the ovals. It's been myself, Cam Rodgen, Johan Illyria alongside me, and Hugo Louise on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast. And until next time, we wish you a very warm goodbye.